All right, good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call to order the Town of Stevensville's Town Council meeting for December 9th, 2021. Ms. Berthoud, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Allen?
Here.
Councilmember Ludington?
Here.
Councilmember Wandler? Mayor Dewey?
Here. Councilmember Devlin will be late this evening. She has another obligation she's at. If you please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time we'll open the floor for public comments on items not listed on tonight's agenda. Please state your name and address for the record and fill in the sign-in sheet on the podium. You'll have to turn on the microphone. There you go. Thank you.
Marilyn Wolf, 300 Aspen Trail, Stevensville. I'm actually talking about item number 3, public comments, and I'm asking for an exception or an accommodation. These last 2 meetings, I see these agendas are long, probably going to be really long, and it's mainly for older adults and those people that maybe can't sit here to the end of the meeting, that where you could limit their comment to a minute or 2. And that doesn't take much time, and that encourages public participation. So I'm wondering if that can't be something that is allowed this evening and the next town council meeting. If you could give me an answer, I'd appreciate it.
If the council's inclined to limit public comment this evening, they'd have to take that action through a vote. That's okay, Ms. Wolf. Thank you. Is there any further public comment on items not listed on tonight's agenda?
Stacy Barker, 104 Winslet. This is just an observation. I was kind of curious of if we sold the 2 cars that were down behind the police department, did they go surplus, or what happened to those cars? Since this is public property, just kind of curious. Thank you. And those were the cop cars.
Okay, is there any further public comment on items not listed in tonight's agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on in the agenda then to approval of minutes. Council has a slate of minutes, November 9th, 2021 special meeting minutes, November 22nd Board of Adjustment meeting minutes, November 23rd meeting minutes, November 24th meeting minutes, and November 29th meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Ludington and seconded by Ms. Allen to approve the minutes as presented. Council discussion? All right. Any public comment on the minutes? All right. Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Ms. Berthoud?
Councilmember Allen?
Aye.
Councilmember Ludington?
Aye.
And Councilmember Wandler?
Aye.
All right. Minutes are approved. Council has approval of claims, the biweekly claims, that is, claims 17166 through 17204.
Make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
Is there a second?
Motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Ludington and seconded by Ms. Wandler to approve claims as they're presented. Council discussion or questions? Public comment on the claims? All right, hearing none, we'll call for the vote on the claims. Ms. Berthoud?
Councilmember Allen? Councilmember Ludington? And Councilmember Wandler.
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Administrative reports are next up on the agenda. The airport report is included in your packet for the airport activity, as well as the community development report with building department activity. From a planning and zoning perspective, things have been quiet. Finance report is also included in your packet. It breaks down utility billing aging. You can see collections are going down overall and up in some other areas. I will note that the 120 days past due and the 90 days past due, especially the 120 days, one of those is a foreclosure. That was a HUD property, and so those, believe it or not, the federal government doesn't like to pay water bills. And so they're in arrears. And then another property was an individual who's deceased and doesn't have next of kin, and it's in a reverse mortgage situation. So there are two very large outstanding amounts sitting in the 120 days, and that's the reason you see that. For the most part, we don't have a large number of customers sitting in that category. You can see budget performance in the report as well. That covers through November 30th, 2021, and cash balances covering each month going back to 2007, or excuse me, each November going back to 2017. Concludes the finance report. We'll move on to the fire department. Chief Motley.
I believe the report is in your packet, but just real quickly, the highlights. This is November. At the end of November, we were running 703. We're now serving 724. So we're going to make that 750 mark by the end of the year without any big stretch. It's pretty much business as usual. Medicals are outpacing anything else that we're doing. However, we've seen a slight uptick in motor vehicle crashes. Not really necessary to the weather, but I'm sure that's coming as soon as we get a little more snow and ice coming down the road. So pretty lights went off. Santa Claus is going to be out and about over the holidays. The department will also be out and about with our antique apparatus, handing out candy canes through the neighborhood. So you'll see us out and about during the holiday season. Other than that, it's pretty much business as usual within the department. I'd like to take a minute to say thank you to Brandon and his staff over the last 10 years. We've got a lot of things accomplished. We've moved a long ways. And I appreciate working with you and you working with us. I know we haven't seen eye to eye on everything, but we've been able to move forward. So thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the fire department for the great parade. You guys are great. You traveled all over town. You did a lot of great stuff. It looked wonderful. The Civic Club had a lot to put that together. I mean, they were very involved with that too, but thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Fire Chief? Okay, thank you. The Parks and Recreation report is in. We won't take public comment during administrative reports, Mr. Michelson. If you want to speak with the chief separately, that's appropriate. The Parks and Recreation activity report is included in your packet. Mr. Sunstang intended to be here this evening, but an illness in the family kept him away. But his report is pretty comprehensive and is included there for you to review. The Police Department report is next. Chief Sosa.
You'll find your statistical information in the reports provided to you. We did see a slight increase in 2 crimes. We had a couple of thefts more than last month and 1 fraud case over last month. Overall, we had 21 more calls for service than the same time period as last year, and a slight difference from the previous month. We were able to hire 2 officers in November, and they've successfully completed their field training, and they will be riding by themselves as of Sunday. So that's good news for us. You gave us the authorization to surplus 2 vehicles in October. Those vehicles were cleaned up and they were taken to surplus hopefully we'll be able to use the funds from that to purchase another vehicle in the near future. We're engaging in Shop with a Cop this Saturday. We've identified 8 students over at the school that will be sponsoring. We've had one business owner in the area that's graciously provided pretty much a blank check to cover it all. No time will be used by the officers. It'll all be voluntary. And we've also been invited by the VFW post in the area to contribute with Wreaths Across America. So that'll be happening next Saturday. And that'll also be all voluntary.
Chief, just to clarify the surplus process on the 2 vehicles, we've taken those over to the state, and the state's facilitating that process on our behalf, correct? And
That's correct.
We receive those funds.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Any other questions from the council for the police chief? Okay. Thanks to your crew for your help with Parade of Lights as well. You guys didn't get to be in the parade, but you helped make it happen.
We had our hands full.
Okay, the Public Works report is included in your packet as well. I don't see Mr. Cruz in the audience, but you can see his work order report and specifically what they've been working on over the last month in your packet there. Okay, council doesn't have any guest correspondence or public hearings to facilitate tonight, so we'll move into unfinished business. Item A, discussion decision on the reconsideration of Transportation Master Plan Agreement with RPA Incorporated. This is a recurring agenda item. At the last meeting, council did not approve the agreement with RPA because it lacked a scope of services and fee. We've asked RPA to prepare that, and they were in the process of preparing it anyway for tonight's meeting. So that is included in your packet for review. The project is broken down into multiple tasks or phases, if you will, and covers over the next 8 months worth of work. There's a specific breakdown there for you in terms of what costs are incurred in the project. The total, I apologize, is roughly $80,000. The page number is over top of my total. I'll pull it up separately and look at it for you, but at any rate, this is a reconsideration item for council.
Make a motion to approve the Transportation Master Plan Agreement with RPA in the town of Stevensville.
Second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Luddington and seconded by Ms. Wandler to approve the Transportation Master Plan Agreement with RPA. Real quick, I'm just going to pull up that dollar amount for everybody's knowledge. There you go, $82,107. That will be billed across 2 different fiscal years. So it's billed as they incur the costs. That contract amount is a not to exceed dollar amount. So if down the road, for example, I think I explained at the last meeting, say we forego a meeting of some kind and those hours aren't incurred, then we're not going to pay for that. Okay, any further council discussion on the Transportation Master Plan Agreement before we call for public comment? Okay, is there any public comment?
Marilyn Wolf, 300 Aspen Trail, Stevensville. I looked at the agenda packet and read on this, and I'm really uncertain what this is all about for a lot of money. And I feel like it's way ahead of its time, and there's probably needier projects that are more important. Just Googling Wikipedia, Stevensville has a town population in 2002 at the 2020 census of 2,002 people. Total area of the town is 1.331 square miles, of which 0.02 square miles is water. Most surrounding roads are county or state that control main traffic corridors. Folks, this is unnecessary. I think the plan is a bit of a boondoggle, activity that is wasteful, giving the appearance of having value. I really feel you should vote no. I think this is just way ahead of itself.
Jim Cruz, 316 9th Street, Stevensville. I looked at this package and I'm appalled. I have to ask a question. Has the town attorney been involved in the contract preparation process per section 2.402 of the town code, where it says, upon receiving a statement of the awarding of a contract, shall be the duty of the municipal attorney to prepare a contract and bond in accordance with the statement. All contracts shall be executed on the part of the municipality by the mayor and attested by the clerk, together with the bond, therefore, shall be filed by the clerk. The transportation plan. Where is the contract? It's not in your packet tonight. You cannot vote on something that is not on the agenda. The public is not being properly informed, and we cannot comment on something that cannot be analyzed. Where are we going to get $82,107? Is there an itemized list of products or services to be rendered? I don't see a detailed list of anything in their proposal. I see a lot of pork in the contract and a lot of boondoggle time. What is the duration of the contract? Where's the money coming from to fund the contract? The discussion by the Planning and Zoning Board was highly inadequate. I listened to the audio yesterday. It was probably one of the worst run meetings I've ever monitored. Almost no detailed discussion. You could only make out one person really in the meeting. That was the mayor. The mayor was there to help this little item along. When they asked what the mayor wanted from the board, it basically came down to asking the board to recommend to the town council, this is something we need. The board made a decision to suggest to the council that this item be explored by the council. Of course, they've not had a meeting since October 27th, so no official minutes have come forward for the council nor the public to review. So exactly how did this suggestion to approve this plan move from the Planning and Zoning Board to the council? The council meeting after the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, the mayor puts the Transportation Master Plan on the agenda with the motion to select a firm to conduct a Transportation Master Plan update. There does not appear to be a formal letter from the board making a detailed suggestion to the council, nor the pros and cons of adopting this firm to do the plan, or any details of the costs or services be rendered. When did the exploration take place? Then on November 23rd, it's on the agenda to approve the Transportation Master Plan Agreement. At that meeting, it was revealed by this very citizen that there was no cost for council review, there was no duration of the contract, and there was no itemized services to be rendered. This council decided on a 2-to-1 vote not to approve the item at that meeting. The nay votes were Mr. Luddington, Mrs. Wandler. The aye vote was Miss Allen. Now we have it back on the agenda to approve the Transportation Master Plan Agreement between the town and Robert Peccia and Associates Incorporated. Can the council please elaborate as to what changed your minds? Where's the agreement that is not in the current council packet for the public to review by the public? I see a proposal, but I fail to see an agreement. You're voting on agreement tonight. Where's it at? And what is that subcontractor consulting fee of $13,660 for HDR? Surely you will not approve a contract that is not present for the public to see. Where's the town city attorney review documented for this agreement that is not in the packet? Do we as a town really need to commit to an $82,107 project? The town folks want a new pool. Cannot this go toward that? The town is not that big and we don't have significant transportation issues. Most of those issues lie outside the town limits on state and county roads. We have potholes to fill, cracks in the roads, sidewalks that need repair. How about fixing some of those instead? I've never seen a study that fixes anything. It takes troops on the ground with tools and materials to get things done. Council, if you had a roof leaking, would you spend money to have someone come tell you that you have a leaky roof without actually fixing it? Because that's exactly what you're going to do with this project. There's a lot of fluff in this project. $82,107. There's boondoggle time in there. If you go read this thing, if you go actually read what is supposed to be done and what you're getting for $82,000, it's on task number 4, page 33 of the plan that's in your packet. There's nothing there. It's just a bunch of studies. Nothing that we need in this town. Spend the $82,107 on something we need, please. Thank you.
Bob Michelson, 222 Turner Street. I'd like to add that under the Montana Subdivision Act and the plat, it specifically states that the environmental studies and transportation studies are at the cost of the developer, not the town. Thank you.
You know, last meeting, Wandler, and Ludington voted against this. And now you've brought it up again. What made you change your mind? Did you think $82,107 was cheap? Shame on you. And shame on you for voting yes the first time. You don't really represent us. You represent him.
Ms. Rodoba, I'm going to ask you to keep your comments respectful, please.
I'm very respectful.
Shaming council members is not being respectful whatsoever.
Oh,
This is your one warning.
and then what?
You'll leave.
No, I won't. Yeah, I know. I keep calling you Wanda. I don't know why.
Is there any further public comment on the Transportation Master Plan? Okay, any further discussion from council? All right, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Ms. Berthoud.
Councilmember Allen. Aye. Councilmember Ludington. Aye. And Councilmember Wandler.
Okay, motion passes 2-1. All right. The next item of business is new business item A, discussion decision on consent to the mayor's appointment of Brenda Lynn Daniels as a firefighter cadet. Chief Motley has brought forth Brenda Lynn Daniels as a cadet for the cadet program, which serves our younger population who shows an interest in the fire service. That minimum age range, or excuse me, I guess the earliest you can enter that program is age 14, and then you graduate that program at age 18. It's proven as a program to help us retain young adults into the fire service and give them an opportunity to provide some volunteer service to the community. Ms. Daniels has successfully completed the steps of the hiring process for volunteers in the fire department, and this is the last stage.
Make a motion to consent to the mayor's appointment of Brenda Lynn Daniels as fire cadet.
Is there a second?
Motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Allen and seconded by Ms. Wandler to consent to the mayor's appointment of Brenda Lynn Daniels as firefighter cadet. Any council discussion? Okay, public comment. Chief Motley.
Our cadet program, we have 6 cadets, and we've kind of capped it at the number of 6, being town and also district. So there's a total number of 6 cadets. We find that's a very manageable size of a group to run herd over. if you will. They meet on Tuesday evenings. And so we have volunteers that have taken that program on under their wing, and it's proven to be a very successful program for us. And they get a lot of good out of it. Now, Brenda Lynn comes to us from the 3 Mile Fire District. She lives out in the 3 Mile area. However, they don't offer anything for a cadet program. So she's made the commitment to make it to trainings and make it to events and all those things from home. She does work here in town. She has a job in town. She works for Cody at Kodiak Jack. So she's in and around and out of the community. She's trying to pursue a career in firefighting. As she gets older, that's where she wants to go. So she thinks so. We think this would be a great fit for her and for us.
Thanks, Chief. Any further public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Ms. Berthoud?
Councilmember Allen,
Aye.
Councilmember Ludington,
Aye.
and Councilmember Wandler.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is discussion decision on with wellfield generator repair. There's a brief for you in the town council packet for reviewing the situation with the generator at the wellfield. For the public's benefit and just to kind of overview that, the Public Works Director was contacted by our maintenance provider, who is under contract to provide maintenance on our 2 generators for backup power. And he inquired of the Public Works Director, what was the town planning to do with the noise that the generator was causing or was making when it operated. Mr. Cruz wasn't aware of what that noise was, and so it needed to kind of be explained based on past maintenance records that we could find. That the previous technicians over the last 2 years had noted a strange noise coming from the generator but couldn't pinpoint what it was. So we moved forward and had a more thorough diagnosis done on the generator. The generator was installed in 2013. It has, I think, less than 300 hours on it altogether. It runs once a week for an hour just to exercise and make sure it's operating normally. When they did the diagnostics on it and a more thorough review to see exactly where the noise was coming from, it was discovered that there was at least 1 bearing that was failing, perhaps 2. And no one can really tell us whether those bearings will fail, in 4 hours or in 4 years. It's kind of a gamble. When the generator is operating on its weekly basis, it's not under full load. Fortunately, it only operates at about 30% of its capacity under normal operations, but it is designed to run a lot harder. The noise gets worse when it runs harder. So they haven't done a full load bank on that generator in fear that it might fail. So from there we explored options as to exactly how to address the situation. It was a little bit frustrating given the number of hours on the generator, or lack thereof, maybe. It was not a known issue for that generator make and model, so we went back to the supplier to double check that there wasn't some sort of a recall or known fault to that equipment that maybe someone else had experienced. That was not the case, unfortunately. So Western States CAT, our maintenance provider and the company that did the diagnosis, gave us the option of 2 options. We could have the generator pulled apart and the bearings rebuilt and replaced and everything put back together, and that cost was just shy of $18,000. Or we could buy brand new parts and replace the pieces that are defective at the cost of $21,000. Western States CAT was generous enough to tell us that you can buy it's a Generac generator, it's not a CAT generator. So they said you could go straight to Generac and get the parts and you wouldn't have to pay our markup, right? So we engaged with Generac to get a quote from them, and that came in at $21,000. So that's where that number comes from. The pros and cons of each of those 2 options, I think it's a given that this needs to be fixed. It's the backup power supply for the town's water system, so it needs to operate and function properly under all different conditions. So, if you go the route of, hypothetically, the cheaper route of $18,000, you will have a lengthy rental of a backup generator that will serve the well field in case of a power failure, because that repair will take several days at best, and so you need to have that redundancy. If you go the more expensive route with new parts, which at the $21,000 route, that just takes a day. They'll be in and out. And the Public Works Department is comfortable foregoing a backup generator for a day. We have adequate storage to serve the town for that period of time should we actually have a power outage, and even the likelihood of a power outage is pretty slim. So Mr. Cruz is comfortable with going that route and foregoing a generator unless the council feels otherwise. But his recommendation is to go with the one-day repair time frame, pay for new parts, and replace the end of the generator that produces power. The motor part of the generator, the actual engine, is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. This is solely an issue with the equipment that generates power for the system. To fund the repair, we would use reserves from the equipment replacement account in the water fund. Currently there's $169,000 sitting in that fund, and that's a bonding requirement. We were required to set money aside for asset depreciation and repairs that come up throughout the life of the system. So this is what that money is intended for.
Make a motion to approve the Public Works Director's recommendation and authorize the repair to the town's wellfield generator.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Ludington and seconded by Ms. Wandler to accept the Public Works Director's recommendation and approve or authorize the repair to the town's wellfield generator. Further council discussion?
I think with what we plan to do, that we should get word out to the public that a certain date, if there's inform them of what is going on in case things.
Sure, absolutely. The repair, I think, will take place in January. I think that they are able to pull parts together relatively quick. And so I think it's just a matter of getting council's approval, and then Mr. Cruz will schedule that repair, and we'll do a notice to let folks know that we're doing this repair. We don't expect interruptions, but they could happen. So, any further council discussion? Excuse me. All right, public comment.
Jim Cruz, 316 9th Street, Stevensville. Backup generator is a very important piece of equipment. It's usually considered critical equipment for water systems. And most utility companies have redundant systems. I think that we should probably look at going ahead and replacing the generator end of the generator, or the emergency generator, but also take that generator that we're taking off and have it rebuilt and have it in storage and standing by. Because you haven't made a plan on what to do with it. At least I'm not hearing one. And the reality is you have to buy an engine to go with it and make two generators. That way if one goes down, you got a backup.
Is there any further public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Ms. Berthoud.
Councilmember Allen. Aye. Councilmember Ludington.
Aye.
And Councilmember Wandler.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. We're going to take a quick 5-minute recess. Ms. Devlin just sent me a message and said she's on her way, and she did want to engage with the council on 11C. So we'll take a quick 5-minute recess and reconvene at 7:40.
fly, some kind of shape, color. Sometimes you just have a little size 14 or size 12 jig, just a little plastic on it. That long. And a maggot or two. Oh yeah. Sometimes you get 3 or 4 trout. And so I would like to fish Georgetown because we catch kokanee right along with rainbow. And kokanee are much better smoked than anything else I've ever had. But my buddy now, you just put all your kokanees in snow in your cooler, I drop it off at my house, I don't can them. And he said, I'll keep that. I said, oh, good deal. So you don't even have to clean them. It's a little salmon. It's they stock millions of them in the lakes in Montana. They feed everything. And they're 3 or 4 years old, they spawn and then die. And they spawn in the fall, so you catch them, now, and the bright silver ones, the ones with the research on it. But because of the inland lakes and the minnows, they start feeding on bugs, and a big one might be 13 inches long. But if they ever start their career eating on meat, like minnows, then they get up to 3 or 4 pounds. And last year was the year that the kokanee were the biggest. We caught a lot of 12 or 15 inches. So it was a good year. But my friend will, I texted him and I should hear back from him when I get home. See what the ice was like. So my wife said, well, you're gonna die. You can take any way other than dropping from the ice. No. I had two friends who dropped through the ice, and one guy didn't make it up, and one guy dropped 2 trucks through 20 feet of water. He was able to get out of the truck, go up through the wall, and he sold his truck, and he started to spring. I don't want to do that again. Because he had to have a big plow on his truck to plow roads out to all of his houses that he had out there. It was a lot of work. What's that? Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I was interested to see how that sign would go.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Fast,
I'm not trying to be an asshole.
the whole ice would start.
I'm not, but you are the town attorney. I don't know whether you're being informed. You should have knowledge as the town attorney to protect the town. So, that's what needs to be done.
Because I was entertaining writers and dignitaries from all over the world, and people from South America, and I think about ice fishing, and just drive right out of the lake. You know, they said, well, just open your door, and they say, why? So they open the door, and we hold it like that while I'm driving like 10 miles an hour. So when we fall through, you can jump out.
Then what do we do?
Okay, we're calling back to order after a brief recess, the town council meeting of December 9th. The town council left off on 11C, discussion decision on indemnification of Mayor Dewey in the matter of Dewey versus Rodabaugh. Council has a brief in their council packet, or rather a letter from me justifying the indemnification. At this time, to avoid any perceived appearance of conflict of interest, I'll turn the chair over to Mr. Ludington.
Is there a motion on item 11C?
In an effort to get the conversation moving and to hear public comment, I'll make a motion to approve the indemnification of Mayor Brandon Dewey.
A second?
Sure.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the indemnification of Mayor Dewey. Council comments.
I've heard a lot of people's viewpoints on this just today alone, both for and against it. One thing that comes, kind of shocks me when we talk about an outrage of this topic is this year, through the court cases that were against the town, our insurance paid out $178,649.28 to cover those two cases. 2019-2020 year, our insurance for the year was $23,494. Our insurance to date has gone to $73,383 due to just those two claims. That's a whole lot more than $12,000. And I don't see an outrage or a request from anybody asking Mr. Michelson or Ms. Barker to pay that money. As a matter of fact, nobody has stood up to say anything about any of that. One person was reelected to be on the council that contributed to these costs. So I don't think we're in a situation where we can pick and choose. Where I come from, that's discrimination. So I just want to bring that to light as we start this conversation. And I'll leave it at that.
Other council comments? Okay, public comment?
Mayor and Council, Raymond Smith, 326 Valley View, Stevensville. Well, let me inform you in regards to the aforementioned lawsuit against Mr. Michelson, the town itself. The mayor was involved in that also. You are covered for certain instances as a town council person, but you're not under other instances. MMIA helped with those lawsuits, correct? We had an MMIA attorney come in and deal with the situation, did we not? For those council members and the mayor that was involved in it. MMIA covered that. This is a separate issue. This is his own political issue. He was recalled. That is separate. That is totally separate. If he wants to get money from someone, he should get it from his campaign coffers, not the town of Stevensville. You had a town attorney that told him, and you all agreed with it, that he needed to return the money, which was done. Then we spent $3,000 on an audit to find out that he would have been illegal if he hadn't returned the money. So tell me how this is a town issue. Tell me, have you, any of you as a council member yet, read your elected officials handbook? Probably not, because we would not be here right now. This is ridiculous. We are not responsible as a town to cover his political actions. And you speak of another situation. Again, the mayor did not follow protocols under that, so he was just as responsible as those council members were for that lawsuit. So let's be honest. He's involved in that lawsuit, so we, as a town, covered that where our insurance has gone through the roof. Okay, so let's put it out there honestly and effectively. If you as council members approve this tonight, you can be held for that amount. Misuse of taxpayer funds. We have a town attorney that has not even rendered his opinion, but yet we have another town attorney that has rendered opinion. You guys have that. We have rules, laws, regulations. This is all on Mr. Dewey. Nobody in the town told him to fight that recall. Nobody. If he was not responsible for this cost, MMIA would have been here in a heartbeat protecting him. We wouldn't have that $12,000 lawsuit or $12,000 fee because MMIA covers it with our insurance costs. This is ridiculous, and as council members, if you guys vote for this, I just don't see, you don't know your laws.
Jim Cruz, 316 9th Street, Stevensville, Montana. You should pull up your council rules because you need to look at them. First off, right now, I think this part of the meeting is not proper because the roll call was not called for Councilmember Devlin to prove that she was on the roll. She stepped in. She's here. There's no legal roll call. She's not part of the meeting. Okay. Potential conflicts of interest. Any member of the council who has an interest in a matter before the council as defined by the laws of the state of Montana, Title II, Chapter 2, Montana Code annotated, or is advised by the town attorney, which I don't know if the town attorney's made any advisements to anybody here. I would hope that it had been looked at. Shall not participate in the debate, nor vote in the matter, nor seek to influence the vote of members of the council. Any council member attempting to so participate may be censored by a majority vote of the remaining members of the town council. Censored is defined as a formal resolution of the legislative body reprimanding a member for specified conduct. It is official reprimand, condemnation for improper conduct pursuant to section 754103, 754109 Montana Code. If the presiding officer of the council has an interest in a matter pending before the council as defined by the laws of the state of Montana or is advised by the town attorney, she shall yield the chair to a member of the council during the course of debate and decision concerning the matter in which he or she has an interest. Now,
Can I interrupt and just ask for
No.
you to repeat the beginning of that one more time? The first line that you read?
which one? Any member of the council? That's right.
Yep.
I said that. Okay, that's your council rules. Okay. The mayor has already attempted to influence your decision because you wrote a letter and put it in the council packet trying to justify why he should be paid the $12,020.20. Read your packet. It's in there. He said it's a matter of public record or public policy, or it should be. It's not, never has been. First, for the mayor, why did you not seek help on the recall from MMIA? How about the town city attorney? What did he advise you to do regarding the recall? And Brandon E. Dewey is apparently submitting this as a legal claim against the town and the citizens of the town for payment. Where is the original invoice? We have a right to see it. It's not in the packet. Where's it at? Is it in the name of Brandon E. Dewey, or is it in the name of the town of Stevensville with prior council approval? Where's the original legal service agreement between Brandon E. Dewey or the town of Stevensville? We have a right to see these documents. You cannot withhold them by law. What is the scope of the services that was provided? What was the time frame involved? Did the mayor at any time discuss with the council an approval process for a personal legal bill. The mayor is representing the lawsuit. It was Brandon E. Dewey versus Regina Plettenberg and Leanna Rodabaugh. In case you've never seen it, there's the front page of it right there. It does not say Town of Stevensville. It does not say anything other than Brandon E. Dewey. That makes it a personal complaint against Leanna Rodabaugh and the county clerk and recorder. It's not a town issue. His issue, not ours. We don't have to pay for this bill. Did the mayor discuss with the town city attorney review of the recall as submitted by the town city attorney Scott Owens? The mayor is falling back on the legal case in the city of Helena. Where's that supporting documentation? What did they really do in Helena? It's not in your packet. Have you seen it? I have. Have you seen it? And why isn't it available for the public as part of this package? This agenda package is very poor. The mayor previously in June decided he did not need indemnification and dropped the issue to the great relief of the citizens of the town. Why has he chosen to bring it back up again? Normally, in the real world, when somebody forgives a debt, even one that's not owed, that's the end of it. And that is exactly what Brandon E. Dewey did when he said he was no longer interested in indemnification. Apparently an agreement was made and he needs to stick to it. I have here a letter dated June 10th, 2021 from Scott Owens. And it says, shortly after delivering my opinion and consulting with the council president, I was informed that the money had been repaid and that the mayor was no longer interested in seeking indemnification. He never denied that. So why is it coming back up? Why are we being hounded for money that we don't owe? Town of Stevensville Purchasing Policy. In case you haven't read it, Section 1, General Provisions, Item B. No employee, an elected official, is counted as an employee in these items. No employee will use town funds for personal purchase of any nature. Authorized personal use of town-provided cell phones, data devices, and internet usage is allowed in certain cases according to the town's phone and internet usage policy. No personal bills can be paid with town money. Presentation of claims against the municipality. That has to be done in accordance with Montana Code 76-4301. All accounts and demands against a city or town must be presented to the council in an itemized format. Where is it at? Do you see it? I don't. These claims must be presented with all necessary and proper vouchers within 1 year from the date of the claims. Is that why we're doing this now? Because we're just under the 1 year mark, which is coming up in, I think, around the 21st of the month. An action may not be maintained against a city or town for an account of any demand or claim against a city or town until the demand or claim has first been presented to the council. Where is it at? It's not here. Council meeting 7/8/2021. Mayor Dewey. While we're on the claims, I would like to inquire council's direction on a specific claim that has gained a lot of discussion in the community, and that is claim 16437 in the amount of $12,020.20. I think we all know what the claim is for. There's been inquiries that the council is going to consider that claim or what the process looks like. I would like some input from the council on how you'd like to proceed. Do you want the claim to come in front of the council or acknowledge the claim didn't come before the council in December, or if you would like to consider it this evening? Councilmember Devlin stated, I think, for me, there are other claims that have not come forward from that period as well. I would like to see those come before us. I think that claim should be separate and should probably be discussed at the time that we receive the information back on the investigation. Councilmember Ludington. I agree with Jamie. I think that once we get a report on the investigation, it will be considered, and I think we also need to see those claims. Councilmember Allen, I also agree. Okay. 8/26/21. Approval of biweekly claims. Mayor Dewey introduced claims 16437 and 16940 through 16991. Council asked that they consider the claim after the investigation to a specific matter. The results of that investigation have been provided with the claim in your packet. I'll turn the chair over to Council President, Mr. Ludington. Going down, Councilmember Devlin. This is a hot topic. We are revisiting it after we had an investigation done. We discussed that we did not believe that there was any criminal activity. Ms. Devlin recited that what she stated by the investigator. This all comes out to zero. And approval of this was approving that it was a zero claim. Vicki Motley, 318 9th Street. Just clarification. If you vote for this, are you paying Brandon back those fees? Councilmember Devlin. This is not asking for indemnification. Vicki Motley. So you're approving a claim that is a zero balance now. Councilmember Devlin. Correct. Victoria Howell. I think that it'd be helpful for the public to know what the investigation cost. Was it about $3,000? You folks voted. Councilmember Allen, aye. Councilmember Devlin, aye. Councilmember Ludington, no. Councilmember Wandler, aye. The investigation report included a letter from Scott Owens dated June 10th, which I have read to you. There's a big article in the newspaper on the 17th of June about this. Owens wrote that he advised the mayor to repay the money, resubmit the claim, and present the issue for indemnification to the council for determination, information which he shared with Vic as council member. Shortly after, Owens was informed the money had been repaid and the mayor was no longer interested in indemnification. Yet here we are again. I don't know what this really falls under, but Montana Code Annotated 764311, liability for false claims. A person who knowingly presents or causes to be presented a false, fictitious, or fraudulent claim for allowance of payment to any city or town or its contractors forfeits the claim, including any portion that may be legitimate, and in addition is subject to a penalty not to exceed $2,000 plus double the damages sustained by the city or town as a result of false claim, including all legal costs. The people of this town are not dumb. Part of his letter states in there that why would anybody want to run for council or mayor or somebody like that? Not his word, just my summation. Why would anybody want to run for public office if you have to bear these legal costs yourself? Because that's the way it is. When you run for council or you run for mayor, you take that on yourself. The only time you are covered for your actions, if you act in good faith and try to follow the rules and the laws, is when you're being sued as part of a member of the town government. If you do something by yourself, and you stated it, Bob Michelson did something, he got sued. Not only did he get sued through the town, he got sued personally, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? So you take that risk when you sign up. Okay? It's like any other job in the world. You go to work at a nuclear power plant, you're covered by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, okay? If you do something negligently, you can be held up to $250,000 fine and jail time. And I know a guy right now, his name is Carl Churchman, who lied to the NRC. You can look him up on the internet. He's getting ready to go to jail for that very thing. We don't owe this bill. He does.
Leanna Rodabaugh. When you sued me, there was a knock on my door. There's a guy standing there I'd never seen before. It's a process server. Now, I'm not actually known for needing that kind of person at my door. He had a stack of papers that thick. In amongst all that paperwork was a little thing that said, Mr. Dewey required me to pay his bills.
if he was found to be legally correct in the lawsuit. He wanted Regina Plettenberg to pay his bills. Now, Regina she had 3 attorneys at a hearing we had. 3 attorneys. I had nobody. I mean, number one, I couldn't afford it. If I had any money, I needed to save it up in case I lost the lawsuit, because Mr. Dewey wanted me to pay his bills. And now he wants us to pay his bills. I found an attorney, international renowned attorney, who took care of the hearing and the judge and all the legal pleadings. And thank God for him. And the judge ruled in our favor. And he said that he believed that Mr. Dewey had done official misconduct. And yet he still wants you people to grant him money for that, for his suing me and Regina, because he was so desperate not to have a recall against him. He didn't care. He thought I was going to pay for it, or Regina was going to pay for it. He'd hired a really big, highfalutin firm in Missoula. I sat there all by myself at a table, and I heard some snickers. And I had to interview people and ask them to come up to the podium and listen to my questions, and I had no idea what I was doing. And yet he's sitting there with this attorney wanting to sue me and have me pay for his expenses. And like I said before, now we're supposed to pay his expenses. And I didn't do it then, and I'll be darned if I will approve you guys allowing him to get away with this time. Now, he's not in office after the first of the year, and maybe he wants moving money or something, but he can get a job. He's young. He can get a job and save up. Can't you? And we don't need to pay the bill for his mistake. It offends me to hear you even ask for it. It does. It offends me, Mr. Ludington. You don't care. You're going to be gone. What do you care? I didn't pay it then, and I'll be darned if I'm going to pay it now. And if you guys agree to this, I'm foreseeing a lawsuit, another lawsuit against the town that you caused this time.
Good evening. My name is Jim Kalkofen. I live at 287 Birch Lane, and I have just a few comments about this motion. A lawsuit brought by one person is just that. In the soon-to-be ex-mayor's lame attempt to be reimbursed for his personal legal fees, the red flags are flapping in the wind to me and many people in this audience. Compare a situation with what's happening at CNN right now. A couple hosts committed acts which got them fired. The lawsuits against these ex-hosts are now coming from the individuals they offended. They are not lawsuits against the network. The governor of New York is now the ex-governor. The dumb things he did to female associates will result in lawsuits filed by these individuals against the ex-gov, not the state of New York. The NFL has had a few current and former players that became bad actors. Those injured or beat sued the individuals, not the league. You all know many more similar examples. For time's sake, I will not dredge up others. An individual acting on his own is liable for his actions. The nature of the mayor's legal fees being paid originally by the town with no oversight, zero oversight, and then hidden from the council for months is more than a little disturbing. The council said no when they learned that the legal fees had been solely authorized by the town's mayor, not the council. They demanded that $12,000 plus be reimbursed. Thankfully, it was. The same decision needs to be the unanimous council vote this evening. At this late date, the soon-to-be ex-mayor may be playing on and expecting sympathy from the council. Remember, this is not your money, it's the public's money. Council members, your vote will tell a resounding story to the voters and your neighbors. Stevensville town politics need not be the laughingstock of the Bitterroot Valley. You know the correct action in this case. Vote no on this attempt to dig deep into the pockets of Stevensville taxpayers. Thank you, Council.
Bob Michelson, 222 Turner Street. I think it's pretty appalling myself, but I'm used to it that members of the council, the paper, they throw my name around like it's nothing. Yes, it's reality. Yes, I got sued. I pray that you, Jamie, you, Sydney, never get sued. But being an elected official, it comes with the job. I'm sorry it does. Whether I'm wrong, right, in the middle, it doesn't matter. But to sit there and compare a lawsuit against me with Brandon, who was a personal, when he sued somebody else, it's not even close. Not even close. And if you guys vote to pay him this, he doesn't care. He'll have his money and be gone. And then it'll be a wrangle. It'll be a legal crap the next administration, and you'll probably have to pay it back. Thank you.
Marilyn Wolf, 300 Aspen Trail. I don't want to say much more because I know a lot has been said, but I think you really have to vote no on this for your own sake, for the liability of the town. This is a private lawsuit between private parties, and the town was not entered in this lawsuit. We weren't named in that. We shouldn't be paying for it. So vote no.
Any further public comment?
Joe Moore, 514 Central. Probably ought to be speaking to this group. I don't have a lot of comments because I've been talked to all night on this one. It's probably true, a lot of what's been said, but it's also very obvious that more than a pound of flesh has been taken out of this current mayor, and hopefully not the next mayor won't go through the same thing, but you never know. I heard a lot tonight about what offends a certain individual. Well, I'm a citizen in this town. I've been offended by the actions of much more of the citizenry than the council. Politics being funny to everybody. This is not one example. We've been in the news as a city for a long time for the types of actions that many of the citizens have portrayed. And I'm not going to stand up here and judge. I'm not going to say anything other than, judge lest you be judged. I think Mayor Dewey acted as the mayor. He didn't look for this recall. He was recalled as the mayor, and the purposes of that was to take a little bit more out of that. So as a citizen standing up here, one of the only ones that says, yes, I think we should vote in favor of giving him the recompense. We paid out a lot of money. Our insurance is up because of other... I thought I sat there pretty quiet. We paid out a lot of money for other people's expenses, and I think that we ought to do the same thing in a way of saying, if for nothing else, let's just put to rest some of the animosity and say we can start the new year with a new beginning. So, like it or not, I say you vote in favor of it.
Raymond Smith, 326 Valley View. Okay, let's talk reality and let's talk law. The law states it was a personal lawsuit, which he lost. The town is not responsible for that. A pound of flesh. I'd say Mr. Michelson previous council members, previous mayors, have gotten their pound of flesh taken off of them, and they weren't supported. So I would just put it this way. If you're going to approve this claim for the mayor, then I would suggest you ask Miss Rodenbaum, Miss Leanna there, how much her attorney fees were, to where we can pay them for her also. Because again, it's personal, right? It was just against him. He did nothing wrong. Then why did the courts render a legal decision against him? Plain and simple. He lost because his lawsuit was frivolous. Okay? We're sitting here now because he's been such a good mayor. He's done such good things for the community. Let's give him another $12,000 before he goes out the door. Why? When he became mayor, he stated he wasn't going to seek any extra compensation. Yet, the first meeting involved, he wanted a pay raise. Then another pay raise. Another pay raise. You guys approved that. Again, I get to the law. Again, as council members, I would suggest, especially you, Miss Allen, and you, that you read your public officials handbook and find out what you're liable for. Find out what your responsibility is. Again, we are in a weak mayor form of government. You as the council hold the power and the direction of things. So which direction do you want to go? Do you want to have the whole town, all of your neighbors thinking that you don't abide by the law, that you don't give 2 cents of legal responsibility is Brandon Dewey's, nobody else's? And for this to even be considered is ridiculous.
My name is Angela Lyons, and I'm from 3288 New Hope Lane. So I don't even live in city limits, but this is an important issue for me. The first question I have is, why hasn't the town attorney weighed in on this? There's no opinion, there's nothing to indicate what his thoughts are on the legality of us, of the city or the town paying this invoice. So I feel like it would be, I don't know, crazy to move forward without having his opinion, since this is a legal issue and he is an expert in legal matters. So that's really my main point, but I also wanted to just reiterate one other thing. The city of Helena brought the suit, not the mayor. In this case, the mayor brought the suit without talking to y'all at all. So you guys were on the hook for the bill, apparently, but you didn't get a say in whether you were willing to be on the hook. And the city of Helena also used their own attorney. They didn't hire a different law firm. So that's one of the main differences between this situation and that situation. And everybody else has pretty much said everything else that I would say too. So those were my only 2 points I wanted to make. Thanks.
Any further public comment?
I would like to have the attorney weigh in on this.
You're not my client, so I take my direction from the council.
No, you're the town's attorney. Okay, well, apparently the attorney isn't going to help you. So I guess your conscience will be your guide. You've heard everybody's opinion, and I don't know who you've talked to, Jamie, that says they're for this, other than Mr. Moore. I think you're supposed to address me. You know what? I didn't know that was a rule. Could you show me that, please?
Thank you, Ms. Rodowa. Anything further?
Yeah, I'm still talking. I was wanting Jamie to show me where I'm not allowed to talk to her.
This is a comment, not a question and answers period. Thank you. So make your comments.
I'm making them. Can you hear them?
Jim Cruz, 316 9th Street, Stevensville. I'm still kind of curious as to how the council president is going to handle the fact that Ms. Devlin was not accounted for the meeting for her presence here. There is a legal requirement to do a roll call, and that didn't happen. So she's not here, technically.
Further public comment? Any further council comment? All right, Ms. Berthal, if you'd call for the vote.
Councilmember Allen. Councilmember Devlin.
Aye.
Council President Ludington.
No.
And Councilmember Wandler.
Fails. I'll turn the chair back over to the mayor.
Okay, we'll move on to new business item D, discussion decision on resolution 498, a resolution establishing a special fund for street lighting on Main Street. Council packet covers the rationale behind creating this fund. It was a donation from the folks who put together the Scarecrow Brew Festival, and their stipulation of the $10,000 donation to the town was that it be used to improve street lighting on Main Street. That would obviously be a multi-phased project. It is rather expensive, and $10,000 certainly helps towards that cause, but I think more fundraising will be done towards that effort. So we've set up a capital improvement project fund to hold those funds until such time as the council decides to expend them.
Motion to approve establishment of a special fund through resolution number 498.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Ludington and seconded by Ms. Devlin to approve resolution 498, establishing a special fund for street lighting on Main Street. Council discussion? Public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Oh, Ms. Barker.
Stacy Barker, 104 Winslet. I just had a question on what type of special lighting this is, because it does not specify anywhere what this is. I guess it's, is it for new street pole lamps? Is it for, because I know at one time it had come in front of the council that they were wanting to replace our street lights with other street lights, doing away with what we have out here right now with Christmas lights. It's been a tradition. I guess my question is there is no specification on it. What lighting are we talking about?
The donor didn't stipulate for council's benefit. This project is very, very young in its infancy. Nobody knows what kind of, they just want, I hear that there's ideas to expand the lighting south of town to cover, the last few blocks past 4th, or past 6th rather. There's, ideas that they want additional lighting in front of the nursing home. There are a lot of ideas out there, but for now, they have some money they want to put towards the cause, so we're holding it as a fiscal agent until someone decides to put together a project and put together those specifications. So altogether, if you were to put new lighting up and down Main Street for all 11 or 12 blocks, you're talking $200,000. We're $10,000 there. We're not even close to putting lights in yet. Okay, any further public comment?
Jim Cruise 316 9th Street, Stevensville. A few years ago, we spent almost $500,000 renovating downtown with the bulb outs and putting pre-planned lighting boxes in at the bulb outs for these street lights and things like that. If you're going to do something like this, you need to tie that in with what has already been spent so we don't waste any money. Thanks.
Okay, last call for public comment. All right, hearing none, we'll call for the vote then. Ms. Berthoud.
Councilmember Allen?
Aye.
Councilmember Devlin?
Aye.
Councilmember Ludington?
Aye.
And Councilmember Wandler?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. We'll move into the executive report then. And I'll do my best to keep my comments brief. Just have a couple of things to cover, given we just have a couple of meetings left. I realize that I put you as the council and my colleagues in an uncomfortable situation by seeking indemnification, especially after I originally said that I wouldn't be seeking that. It wasn't an easy process, but you navigated that process with professionalism and partiality. And I'm sorry to have done that to you, and that you had to go through that process. That alone weighed on me when making the decision of seeking indemnification. A citizen's comments at a previous meeting regarding abuse caused me to reevaluate the nonsense that I've been put through in this position. And I understand public service comes with its issues, and I'm not debating that. Certainly when you hold the top elected position in a community, you're in a position where you'll be scrutinized. But in the same hand of that, I think the heat was certainly dialed up in day one of my administration. You know, one of the first actions the council took was to remove me from the fire department roster and demand that I resign my 12-year career in the volunteer fire department, and I complied in the name of, you know, trying to create harmony and moving the community forward peacefully. Okay, I'll step back from that portion of my life, which was something that formed who I am. So, like I said, the comments that were made regarding the abuse that a specific person allegedly endured from this body, which for the record did not occur, caused me to think of pain, and not only what I've had to live through in this position, but that pain that, albeit it's not physical, some members of this community have also inflicted on my family too. It's unfortunate. Moving on, water rights. No, Miss Rodabaugh, knock it off. Jeez. Yeah, so am I. Water rights progress. The pre-application phase is complete. Great news. So our water rights attorney is moving forward on building the actual applications for DNRC. We had a very successful telephone call last week with the DNRC addressing all of the different facets that we will have to get through to get an approved application. But they're completely on board with our approach. Ultimately, we'll have a permit application, like 3 or 4 change applications. So there's a lot of paperwork that goes into this. The pre-application phase, though, is complete. DNRC has given us the nod to say, yes, go ahead and file. So that's encouraging. That's really good. That's a huge hurdle. Other things administratively, since November 1st, we've seen 5 resignations: the Director of Finance and Human Resources, the Parks and Recreation Director, the Deputy Clerk, an Administrative Assistant, and a Police Officer. Those vacancies will result in a 34% decrease in staffing overall across the organization. It is what it is. So the reason I bring this up is I just ask that the public be patient with the new administration as they hit the ground running and replenish what I'd consider to be our most valuable resource, and that's our people. It's going to it's going to be, I think, somewhat of a challenge to get people back into place and get those folks trained up. Lastly, and I foreshadowed this earlier in my comments, I've been serving this community and organization since I joined the fire department in 2006, 16 years ago. Since then, 7 mayors have held office, myself included. Of those 7, only 3 of us had been duly elected by the citizens, a tremendous honor that I'm grateful for. So as I close the door this month on that tenure of service, I'm grateful for the relationships built and the experiences I've had in this community. I'm fortunate to leave with lifelong friendships that I'll always cherish, and some of those are here on this council. I'm proud of the work that we together as a community accomplished during my service over not just the last 4 years, but also the 16 years. I'm absolutely impressed with the speed at which we moved this community forward in extraordinary ways. When many people, even our supporters, would say something's impossible, you were still up for the challenge. I appreciate that over my tenure as mayor, no task has been too big or too small to handle, and that we've been supported by an extraordinary staff. And the reason we've been able to get so much done is because of you. And when I say you, I don't mean you, the council, I mean the 4 of you. Although our time together has been short, this council is the most distinguished group of elected officials that our community has desperately needed for some time. You have helped bring stability, harmony and integrity, dignity to the offices you hold. I'm humbled to have served with you in this capacity, and thank you for the grace and professionalism that you've demonstrated. Thank you, Karen, Paul, Jamie, and Sydney, for your service to our community. You've put up with a lot and have not been thanked enough for your efforts. Council comments.
Yeah, this was a difficult year for me. It's been almost a year since I was appointed to this council, and I knew that there was only one reason that I wanted to do this, and that was because there was a lot of work to be done. There was a lot of things on the horizon that needed some attention that nobody had paid any attention to for several years. I see that coming back. We're going to be back in that spot again starting in January, where we will be slowed down, unmoved, by people who aren't interested in changing anything. Like a lot of us, I am not a big fan of change, but I know that in order to be able to not be left behind, that we have to try to keep up. I do appreciate all the commitment, especially that Brandon has given to this town over this last several years. I don't think that he deserved the pound of flesh that was taken from him during his tenure. I understand that people are dissatisfied. It's too bad that we live now in a country where the truth does not matter. We get to decide what's true. And if you don't agree, then you're my enemy. I have had a long-standing relationship with a couple of members of this community who I have had vehement arguments with. Yet we still remain friends because we can agree to disagree. That apparently doesn't occur in some of the citizenry's vocabulary, which is unfortunate. The town of Stevensville, for a lot of people that I have talked to, is a shining star in the Bitterroot Valley. They love this town. Sitting here tonight, I don't. I'm embarrassed by you people. I am simply embarrassed. I hope that you have success. I don't foresee that.
Quiet in the audience, please, or you'll be dismissed from the meeting. It's that simple, folks. We're going to be respectful. Let the council president make his comments. Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, Mr. Sosa, please remove Mr. Smith. He's done with the meeting. Mr. Smith, please. You're disorderly.
We're all entitled to our opinions. I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. And lastly, I would like to thank those people who are on town staff. As I've said before, we're extremely lucky to be able to have a public works director that we do, the chief of police that we do, a very dedicated volunteer fire department and chief and assistant chief. We have some challenges ahead in the office. I hope that we are able to continue to be successful there. So I wish everybody the best, and for those of you who will continue to be involved with town government, I am available.
Who's next? Ms. Wander.
I have one more meeting. I've never been a part of the city council. I've worked full-time. It's been a real rewarding experience working with the council and with the general public. I'm surprised at people that I grew up with, their comments. They don't listen. Some of them wanted to talk about what happened in 2015. I'm sorry you did whatever you did in 2015 as mayor. I've only applied for this job because one person that everybody knows is one of the most smartest people I know told me, if you don't like what's going on, become a part of it. And I did that, Jamie. You think about it. How many people that get up and complain about what is going on in our town have actually applied and got involved? If everybody knew what Brandon and the council deals with and understood it, it would surprise people. There's been longtime friends in our community that called me and thought I was crazy, and I admitted, yes, I was. But it's been a real good experience, and I'm glad I had it, and I'm glad I'm not coming back. But I think the people that have supported me and talked to me reasonably, listened to my side, I listened to their side. That's what we've got to do. Our insurance rates are going to go sky high if what we're talked about tonight is fulfilled. If it doesn't go my way, I will sue. Well, we've got to stop this. We cannot afford it. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And thank you, Mayor Dewey. Tonight will be my last night representing Ward 1 as council member. The health of my family and my well-being must be top priority. I ran for election, and I had visions of working with leaders of our community and being a voice for those who had been silenced. In the past 2 years of my time serving on council, I have seen and experienced situations and behaviors that have damaged me. I did not realize that being elected, I would become a victim of regular verbal and mental abuse. I am told that this abuse is the culture of Stevensville and that this is how it is. I'm not sure why there's an unwritten expectation to abuse public servants and our neighbors. What I do know is that we teach people how to treat us. I will no longer allow myself to be abused by people I represent or by my neighbors. Until the mentality of the people living in Stevensville changes, it will not matter who serves on the council or who is mayor. Until people stand up and say this abuse is no longer allowed here, it will continue and it will get worse. My passion is to help others as well as the community and communities that are around me. I will continue to strive to lead this beautiful community, to leave this beautiful community better than I found it. I will continue my mission of helping as many people as I can, and I will succeed with teaching others of their self-worth. These things will just not be accomplished by sitting at this table and representing Ward 1 of the town of Stevensville.
Ms. Allen, any comments?
I'm gonna follow suit and do the same thing. I'm a school teacher. I can't afford to be sued. I did not vote with my conscience tonight. If I were in those shoes, I don't have $12,000. And I was threatened tonight that if I did something out of conscience, I would be sued. I am young. I have a lot of life and a lot of career and a lot of family and a lot of good things in my path. And the undue stress that this position has caused is heartbreaking. The town of Stevensville will get exactly what it deserves. We will end up with the government we deserve. We have 4 seats up here. Only 2 are filled, and they're not going to be filled by people sitting here. When I stepped into this role, I was acutely aware of the deep-rooted turmoil in our town, and I had the utmost desire to help conscientiously grow and evolve the town of Stevensville. I was unaware that forward movement would be muddled by negative rhetoric, false accusations, and misinterpretations of the law. It has been increasingly difficult and stress-inducing. I am choosing to reallocate my energy into my career and my family. I look forward to being an active participant and supporting the incoming administration as a community member. And I encourage everybody else to do the same. Run for this position. Take part in the action. I hope to see some of these names. My resignation is effective as of December 24th.
Okay, that concludes town council comments. Any board reports? Okay. Hearing nothing further, then we'll go ahead and adjourn. You guys have a good evening. Thanks for your time.